Hey friends, and welcome back to episode 28 of Divine FM. This week, I'm going to be talking about patience. So, the reason why patience has been on my mind really has been because I feel like whenever things are about to speed up in your life, it kind of goes like in a halt. It stops. It has a resting period before things speed up again. I feel like that's just been a recurring theme in life. You know, you guys can probably agree that whenever something life changing or just something that you know is impending and will happen and you can just feel it in your bones, even if it's not just a feeling, like if it's like set in stone and you know it's going to happen, there's a lot of pressure that's building up. There's a lot of like stress that's building up. And so it's good to work on the skill of patience and remembering how important it is to incorporate that into your everyday life and everyday routine in order to succeed, in order to maintain your success, in order to, maintain your, good mental health and your good relationships, etc. So I just wanted to talk about why it's been important to me and I guess the positive aspects of life that I've come to find that patience has brought me. So before I'm going to do that, actually, I'm going to do my highs and lows. So my highs for this week were obviously that I uploaded my vlog. If you guys didn't know, I have a vlog channel on YouTube. It's the same as my Instagram, divagirl333. I am really proud of it. Although I did have to delete and re-upload it, I am still really proud of it. I spent like the whole past week editing it, and it was only about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, I really don't know. Just about the whole month of May, maybe like 80% of it, I don't know, was in that vlog. And I had a few events that went on, and it was just really fun. And, it was really interesting looking back at the vlog footage because it kind of will tie into my low. But I'm going to talk about my other high real quick, which was the Thai tea / shotgun coffee house market. What is it? Shotgun house roasters market with Thai tea films. I always have such a good time whenever I'm doing stuff over there. The vibes are just so good. I feel very welcome and at home there, and it was just a really good time. I had really good sales. I met a lot of really nice people, and of course I got to see some people that I really enjoyed being around as well, and it was all in all just a really good market, and I just have endless good things to say about doing pop-up markets and specifically going to Shotgun House Roasters / Thai Tea Films production studios. Like, for some reason, it's just such good vibes over there all the time. But yeah, my lows were definitely, well, it's still kind of my low right now, but basically I feel like as I mentioned earlier, whenever you're like in a resting period before things are happening for you that are, the ball will actually start rolling, I feel like that's where I'm at right now, and it's just a kind of a frustrating feeling being in that in-between period of not feeling like I'm accomplishing anything, but also knowing that I have so much to celebrate myself for and I have so much to be proud of. I just have a bad problem with overthinking and actually being impatient. So ways I've been trying to, I guess, make that better for myself and make it more of a high, or, just trying to find ways to make myself happier when it comes to work and when it comes to just what I'm working for. I have a promotion coming up and I really want to succeed in my my YouTube / like podcast endeavors, and I just want to be able to relax in the knowing that things are working out for me and being okay with that. Like being okay with just resting and knowing that everything is working out for me and that I'm doing enough. All the work that I'm putting in is enough. And, you know, patience is magic. As long as I just sit and rest with the knowing that I've done enough and that I've done the work, you know, as well as, you know, the manifestation, it's going to work out. So yeah, that's my highs and lows. You know, it's really funny. Today at work, for some reason, I felt very drawn to my green aventurine crystal and also my tiger's eye crystal. But it's mysterious because I kept wanting to... Can you hear the dogs in the background? Oh my gosh, they're really loud. I kept bringing my tiger's eye crystal with me, but I don't know if green aventurine and tiger's eye just don't really like mesh or something. But I swear, every time I would have them in the same hand, or I would be... Oh my gosh, the dogs are... Sorry if you can hear the dogs. They're barking like really loud. But the tiger's eye crystal just kept like literally falling out of my hands, and it just felt like it was throwing itself around, and it was so annoying because I just wanted it to sit with the other crystal. But yeah, I felt specifically drawn towards the green aventurine crystal. And so I just wanted to talk about, real quick, the benefits and the, I guess, properties, or the spiritual properties, I suppose, of the green aventurine crystal, and why I would feel drawn to it, per se. Because I looked at it on my desk, and I was like, that's green aventurine, right? And I looked it up, and I was like, yeah, of course it is. And it just felt very symbolic towards the time of life that I'm in right now. So it is good for tremendous emotional healing, letting go of difficult memories, promotion of inner harmony, opening the heart to love, compassion and forgiveness, attracts money and prosperity, and of course harmony and empathy. So, you know, doubling up on that harmony. And I just felt very protected, I guess, having it with me today, because that's honestly everything I'm trying to manifest for myself right now is, you know, healing and moving into a stable place where I have a strong foundation and I feel confident in my abilities to, you know, take on the world, because the world is my oyster. So yeah, whenever I was doing research on patience and the idea of acceptance and surrender and all of the above, I actually wrote down a few different sources. So one of them is going to be, well, actually, I mostly just use this one article by Thomas Barbian, PhD, and the article was called The Skill of Patience in Columbia Metropolitan. And yeah, I also just like, you know, obviously the AI overview shit, like there's a little bit of that. But yeah, so AI overview, I had looked up actually tidbits about patience, and the AI overview of tidbits about patience was: involves accepting delays or difficulties without getting agitated, and is a crucial skill for well-being in relationships. It can help us manage emotions, build empathy, and achieve long-term goals. So she, like, even AI knows what patience is. Like, I had to look up, like, tidbits about patience because this is something that I lack in. And we're learning together, guys. So, this is not me saying that I'm a patient person, because any of my family members or friends listening to this are going to be like, bitch, You're like the least patient person I know. Like, I was just talking to my sister yesterday about, I'm not even going to talk about it on the podcast, but I was just being ridiculous because I'm impatient and I needed her advice about something, and she was like, girl, basically she just humbled me a lot, and I needed that humbling because I'm impatient, and that's what also inspired this podcast, because holy crap, like, I need to remember that patience is a skill, and skills are something that need to be worked on. It's not something that's just like automatic, you know? It can't just expect people to be patient with me if I'm not willing to put in the work to be patient myself. So I feel like that's something that, you know, I'm really am willing to work on, because I do expect people to be patient with me, because, you know, I require patience. Therefore, I need to be patient with other people too. So yeah, cultivating patience can lead to increased self-control and a more positive outlook, and overall just like greater self-satisfaction. So I now am going to kind of refer mostly to that article about patience. It was called, what was it called? The Skill of Patience or something. There's a few different points basically talking about what are the benefits from being patient and overall just like being a patient person. And one of them was transforms relationships, which we love. It says patience can help you avoid becoming irritated, defensive, and saying hurtful things. Guys, we need to remember that in order to have healthy relationships, it's a two-way street. We cannot be hypocrites and expect other people to be perfect all the time and not do that shadow work on ourselves and not think about our actions and how we're treating them. You know, that's the whole idea of empathy. You know, like being able to put yourself in other people's shoes and see something or see the situation from their point of view and genuinely be able to empathize with them and thus, you know, not create a further conflict. So yeah, patience is defined as the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. So could it be that one of the strategies for developing the skill of patience is adjusting our expectations so that they are simply more realistic? I have this one affirmation in my notebook that says, I create reasonable expectations in order to protect my peace. And I think this basically goes hand in hand with that idea that having like generally reasonable expectations based on your current life circumstances, the people around you, you know, just using your critical thinking skills, basically creating a realistic expectations for people, places, things, etc., is one very powerful way to not set yourself up for failure and not set yourself up for, you know, just a situation where you will create frustration, you will create further delay when it comes to your goals, or, you know, let me think of a certain example. Let's just use me for example. I get pretty, you know, up close and personal on my podcast, and I've talked for a while now about how I'm working on getting a promotion at my job. And currently I'm like in this waiting period where it hasn't happened yet, but I'm training for it already. And so I'm doing the work in order to get this promotion, but the promotion hasn't happened yet, but it's like set in stone and will happen. And so until that moment comes, I don't feel like I can celebrate myself, if that makes sense. I don't feel like I've, you know, achieved it, because I haven't. Yet I've done the work to achieve it. It's a very odd place to be in, but I feel like it's a very good place to be in when it comes to growth and having an opportunity for growth, because I have a set amount of time that I have, you know, to accept my circumstances and evolve the person who I am right now to become the version of myself, I suppose, that already has that promotion, and I can't be that person in one day. You know, I can't make this, that, and the other change in order to become that version of myself. You know, it comes with work, just like, you know, my fitness goals. It came with lots of work in order to have the physique that I have today, and I had that vision the entire time, but, you know, it took me like 8 or 9 months to get to where I am. And as long as I can hold that vision in my head, and I have that grit, and I have the resilience, and the patience, of course, I will be able to achieve absolutely anything I set my mind towards. And that's just kind of the recipe for success. And so that's why I think patience is really important, because, like, I don't have that right now. I'm working on it. I talk like I literally know what the fuck I'm talking about, and I, like, do the things I'm talking about. This is just me saying that I'm aware of what's right. Like, I'm aware of what to do, but that's not me saying I always make that choice. Like, who does? We don't all, no one ever in the history of the world is going to be perfect. I don't expect you to be perfect. Please don't expect me to be perfect, because I'm not going to be. Never have, never will be. Never have, never will be. Yeah, what did I say? Basically, like, the idea of creating realistic expectations is very much so important when it comes to surrendering to our reality and being able to be more grateful and thus more patient with our current reality. I feel like with this acceptance is more so like the idea of surrender. And I feel like the word acceptance can often be confused with the idea of being liked and accepted. But I feel like acceptance, like when it boils down to it, is when undesirable things happen, being able to accept that, being able to surrender to the idea of what is going on and not letting that affect your emotions. Does that make sense? I feel like taking this opportunity to accept change and to appreciate the present moment and what you already have is such a powerful tool when it comes to just evolving as a person, to becoming a more patient person, to having a healthy relationship with yourself, because you're not setting yourself up for failure all the time. You know, I feel like so many years went by that I didn't even realize that I was being my own, like, bully. I was being my own, what's the word? I always say this, take a fucking shot every time I say what's the word, honestly. But I was holding myself back because and it's not that I was doing it on purpose, but creating unrealistic expectations for myself. You know what? I have literally such a good example. If anyone right now knows me, they know that I have been saying that I want to buy a house. And I was just talking to my dad earlier today about how, you know, I've been thinking, and it would be much more fun for me to have a nice car, or just a nicer car, and an apartment, just ideally a place of my own. And he was like, yeah, that would be like a much more realistic expectation for yourself. Dude, and it felt like a huge weight was literally lifted off of my chest. Like, I was like, oh my god, wait, I can do that? Like, I've lived in so many apartments already. For some reason, I felt the need to put myself in that box to be like, you know what, fuck it. I've lived in, how many apartments have I lived in? Technically 2, but I, like, upgraded to, no, I've lived in 3 apartments. I'm like, I've lived in 3 apartments already. I don't want to live in another one. I love a house. I want a house. But, you know, I've also been talking to my family and friends about how I really just want to be happy. And something that I'm lacking is my own space. And just, yeah, really is my own space. I have, as I've said, lived in lots of homes of my own already. And so it's tricky not having your own space after that. And where do you put all of your things? I'll tell you, not where I'm currently living at. None of those things are here. and it stresses me out. And so, also my car, I have a history of bad car driving skills. I mean, I haven't been in an accident in a couple of years, but I am on my third car. And so it would be nice to have a not used, very, very used car. Like, I'm not saying I want a new car, but maybe one that was, like, not built, like, before 2010 type shit. Like, one that has working AC, is reliable, I can still buy all the parts, It's not that I can't not buy the parts now for my current car. It's more just, like, I only spent, like, $7,000 something on my car, and that's a $7,000 car, And I've already had her for, like, 4 years, and so I eventually will need a newer car, but the idea of me saving up for a house is like, holy shit, I will never have anything new ever again until I buy my house. And that just, like, really was stressing me out, like, so badly, and unmotivating me and making me feel like I was never going to succeed in life, and that I just, like, was never going to move forward in life, simply because I was putting myself in a box. Because for some reason, having a house made me feel safe. It made me feel like, because before I lived here with my dad, I lived with my grandma and I lived with my mom, and before then I was engaged to be married and living in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in Boerne, Texas. Like, I have made lots of jumps in a little bit under a year, and I am now realizing that I simply was lacking that safety that I have now been able to generate and create for myself. And so I don't need a house for that. I don't need a partner for that. I can do that for myself already, and I am already doing it, and I have for a while now successfully, and in a very fun and loving way. I genuinely love being myself so much. I have just cultivated such a beautiful, safe space for myself internally, and I would never trade that for absolutely anything. Like, I could be homeless and broke and have no one, and I feel like I still would feel so blessed because I just feel so safe internally. And so, yeah, good mental health really is priceless. I'll tell you that. Anyways, I don't even know why I was talking about that. Long story short, I surrendered to the idea of me not having a house anytime soon. I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that. But I still want to have a space of my own. Like, there's still something that was bothering me. And it made me feel better about being patient when it came to my not having my promotion yet. When it came to my not being where I feel like I am internally, but like my 3D present reality is not reflecting that. I had to accept that and surrender to that, and once I did, it just was such a huge weight lifted off of my shoulders. And it was as simple as accepting that I don't need to have a house right now. I don't need to be saving up for a house right now. It's not an expectation that I need to set on myself right now. I'm 23 years old. Like, yes, it's an amazing goal to have, but I don't need to have it right now, especially if it's, like, stressing me out and it seems unattainable in a way, when there's other things that would benefit my life more and also are not such, I don't know, high ticket fucking items, Like, I don't need to be so mean to myself when it comes to just my life progress. I need to be more patient with that and be more patient with the idea of not going 0 to 100 so fast. And, yes, I've put in a lot of work towards, my career endeavors, but I know that, what is it? The turtle wins the race or something? What's the saying? Something along those lines, the turtle wins the race. Like, no matter how slow that I go, no matter how slow my pace, as long as I'm working at exactly my own pace and exactly what works with me, that is what will get me to where exactly I'm supposed to be. And I have full faith in that idea, because you can't push to receive, you know, you got to release to receive. And why would you want to push to receive anyways? Like, why work harder when you can just work smarter? Right? So yeah, I came to realize that when it came down to it, I fought the surrender process, the release, the letting go. Like, the idea of surrendering to certain things like seasons or gravity or like daytime and darkness, that's easy. You know, we can choose our behaviors, but we cannot choose our feelings. Feelings just happen. Yet, it could be just as easy to accept as it is to accept, you know, fall and winter and spring and summer. But when we feel something, we have the responsibility of managing that feeling and choosing how you exhibit your response. How do you, in the midst of a strong feeling or a triggering experience, choose to respond? I, in the past, would react. Sometimes I still do. You can't expect yourself to always respond in the best way, to always be the calm person, the emotionally mature person, the respectful person. Sometimes you're the reactful one. Sometimes you are just upset and triggered, and, you know, you can't control that either. And so it's really based on that exact moment. You know, we have to accept that many undesirable things are going to happen, but no matter what, we just have to accept that. Like, we have to be able to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. Like, that's literally the definition of being patient. And the more that we remember that, me included, please remember, the more that you and I remember that choosing to respond in a empathetic, patient manner will always be the more loving, the more positive, the higher energy response, if that makes sense to you. So, yeah, the following are some scientifically researched benefits of being a patient person. I mentioned one earlier. It transforms relationships, but it's just two more, I guess. It will make you a more physically healthier person, but genuinely, stress and anger are a result of impatience. Like, you know, sitting in traffic or talking to some dumbass on the phone, or like fighting with your friend who's, you know, being fucking an idiot, you know. Just, there's so many things that can trigger us, but we have to remember that it's not just a mental health, it's also a physical health thing. Like, those triggers can lead to, well, if we respond in a like stressful, angry manner, it can lead to things like high cholesterol, hypertension, ulcers, heart disease, and strokes. Like, those are just to name a few. So, you know, it worries me. Like, my dad, for example, like, as granted, he's like a much less stressed out person, as am I. But seeing people like how my dad sometimes can be, like, he gets very upset very quickly over just like little things, I guess. Like, that is something that like worries me, because you can have a fucking stroke from like literally getting super triggered, basically. And especially for the older generation that like doesn't believe in the idea of, you know, for example, being triggered. Like, they get it triggered from hearing the word triggered because they don't want to admit that they can get triggered, you know? Like, something like that is scary and genuinely worrisome. So, you know, patience is not just like a sensitive person thing. It's not just like a nice person thing. It's a healthy habit to cultivate. And last but not least, obviously, patience will help you have a healthier attitude and just a greater sense of gratitude. The skill of patience helps with being less focused on what isn't happening per se and more focused on the present moment, you know. Focusing on the good and being grateful and gratitude basically reinforce each other. The more grateful you are for, you know, what is good to you, for what you have, helps you become more patient, and patience allows you to slow down and notice what's going well, you know, so they work hand in hand with each other. And as long as you can remember that every day and have some way to remind yourself of how important it is to not only be patient with yourself, also be patient with others, you will see your quality of life just blossom. And I would love to see that for everyone, because I can say for myself that the more that I work on it, as hard as it is and how silly I feel in the moment and how much I want to fight it, you know, being patient in moments where I normally wouldn't has shown me that it can turn out in a different manner than how my brain automatically thinks it will, if that makes sense. You know, sometimes whenever I'm really upset and I get triggered over, you know, let's say technology is frustrating me. Whenever I was editing my vlog, I was getting really mad because after like so many edits, you know, like a couple of days of me editing the same video, my app started lagging. And I was getting so pissed. Like, I started, you know, just not being as patient with my phone and the app, and I actually like lost like a whole bunch of progress that I had because I thought I had saved it and I didn't, and whatever, I just had lost a bunch of progress, and it made me so upset. And in that moment I was like, oh my gosh, I can either, you know, be triggered and continue to let this irritate me, or I can simply take a few deep breaths and be patient and just not edit my vlog for the rest of the day, because obviously I was trying to get it up like as soon as I could. And I was like, I'll just work on it after I get some rest and after I feel less just stressed out about it in general. And then I did, and boom, I felt so much better the next day. And I just simply required me to check up on myself and to remind myself, like, you know, you don't actually have to push yourself that hard, girl. Like, you're being a little goofy right now. Trying to push yourself when we know that releasing is what helps us receive. So yeah, deep breath, guys. That's the end of the podcast. It's almost over. Thank you so much for listening, and I really hope you enjoyed, and I hope you come back next week to Divine FM. Thanks, guys.